Hello, my name is Irving Finkel and I'm a curator in the British Museum in the Middle East Department, and this is Curator's Corner once more. Okay, so today we're going to talk about demons, ghosts, sprites, things that caused trouble to ancient persons in Mesopotamia, and how those who thought they could deal with them dealt with them. So they had a rather interesting system that applied in Mesopotamian culture, that's to say the Sumerians and especially the Babylonians and Assyrians after them, because human beings, when they were born, they were kind of put under the protection of a particular god. And this god had responsibility for you as you grew up and went through life. Now, this is rather a nice system, but the trouble about it is that the Mesopotamian view of deities was modelled on their view of the human race, which, of course, has the result that the individuals are unreliable, they tell lies, they are adulterous, they get drunk, they get bored, they get easily distracted, and the gods did the same. So this meant that it wasn't 24-hour coverage. And this had a bad consequence, because there were lots of things that largely you couldn't see, which were waiting to zap you. And if you've been abandoned by your personal deity, or you've been particularly unpleasant in your behaviour to somebody else, they might come for you. So some of these demons are very identifiable. The choicest one is called Lamashtu, and this Lamashtu is a lion-headed female who's depicted on stone amulets, suckling a wolf and a dog, with snakes riding on the back of a donkey in a boat. And sometimes the carvings are very complicated, so they knew exactly what she looked like, but they knew precisely why they wanted to have nothing to do with her, because her interest was in children, babies, pregnant women, and so forth. And there's some very poetic texts which talk about Lamashtu prowling down the street and sniffing through all the door jambs and trying to see if there's a new baby there, because she would sneak in and devour it. So she, Lamashtu, is intelligibly to be seen as the personification of the danger of childbirth, which, of course, in ancient times and often subsequently has been a very hazardous thing for women. And she was the focus of the thing they all feared, very lithe and very dangerous. And one interesting thing, which also comes out when you start looking at the amulets, is she had an enemy. And this enemy was called Pazuzu. And Pazuzu is very ugly, grotesque face. And when you see a Pazuzu, you think, it must be evil, must be something I don't want to have anything to do with. But it's just the opposite, because this Pazuzu, the sight of his face was enough to drive Lamashtu away altogether. We've got some very good amulets which will show you this. And clearly, if Lamashtu saw him through the window, she would go away. Now, we don't know why the sight of this Pazuzu should have had such an effect on Lamashtu, but I have a personal interpretation of it, which is the following. There is no evidence for this theory, but my theory is that once they were married, they had a very, very inimical divorce. One of those divorces which you often encounter in literature, and especially in real life, when one partner cannot bear the sight of the other one under any circumstances, and that would explain, I think, the powerful and effective nature of this deterrent. However, in the hands of Hollywood, Pazuzu suffered a great criticism, in fact slanderous attack on his personality, because there was a film once in which a girl who looked like a perfectly normal girl suddenly started spewing green things and her head went round on her shoulders. And the beginning of that film laid the trouble which beset this unfortunate girl at this demon, which, if you had to be there right at the beginning of the film to see this Pazuzu head on the floor, and Hollywood thought that Pazuzu was wicked, but in point of fact it's just the opposite. So some of the demons made you very ill. They had an idea a bit like possession. They'd go into the body, they would perverse all the systems inside, they'd make you very ill indeed. And the exorcist had to drive the thing out of the body and make the person well again. So they had different devices for this. Sometimes they burnt things that you had to inhale. Sometimes you had bits of wool with amulets around your fingers, and all sorts of other things they were expert in. Once they knew which was the evil, they knew what to do about it. One way to get rid of inimical figures that you want to see the back of is to literally put them in a toy boat, a model boat. And sometimes, for example, with that Lamashtu who likes babies, she's put in the boat and she's given things like a sandwich box and a hairpin and a comb, feminine things, so to speak, which she'll be distracted by. And then the exorcist puts this little boat into the Tigris River, which is very fast moving, and whoosh, the boat disappears and goes off, hopefully to the border with Elam. If you've enjoyed this or you like this kind of thing at all, I suggest you subscribe to the British Museum YouTube Marvellous Fantastic channel. And if you do, they will send you lots of information. You will find out all the marvellous things that are going to come in the future, and life will in every way be superior. British Museum YouTube channel. Got that?